Hi guys and welcome to another video, and today we've got something quite a bit different to what I've done before. I've got a few guests with me today and we are doing the F1 quiz of the year, as you can see by the title. So yeah, as I said, something a bit different. We're basically going to be quizzing the three people that I've got here today on the events of the 2016 season, and you know, just a few discussion points related to the goings on that we've had this season. So you'll sort of pick it up along the way. It's going to be a podcast style sort of thing, and hopefully something that which will be coming quite a bit more in the new year, but less of me and more of the introducing of people. So today I have got Nathan, also known as PSLutonRules. I've got Niran, known as FlyingNirangatang or FNG Racing or anything like that, and then I've got Matt, who is Stopmat1998. So yeah, Nathan, if you just want to introduce yourself quickly.
Yeah, I mean, what do you want me to say in the intro? I haven't planned this out.
This is impromptu stuff.
This is great. This is great.
Impromptu stuff right here.
Yeah, just sort of give an introduction of your channel, that sort of thing.
Please include
Introduction of my channel.
Don't
worry, just that I make F1 videos like everyone else.
Yeah, I'd say that sums it up. So just for that great intro, I think that deserves a sub straight off. Anyway, so Niran, just a quick introduction of yourself.
I just rant a lot really about F1 and FIFA generally.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a pretty decent, accurate representation, to be honest with you there as well.
I'd say so. I'm Matt, finally.
Yeah, I've become more inconsistent than Joe recently. And that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, by this point you've probably seen a video from me, possibly a channel update. But yeah, I'm probably going to prove today how little I actually know about the F1 2016 season, just how bad my memory is. So yeah, let's get into it.
Right, so the first little bit that I'm going to do today is a little bit of a discussion to start with. I haven't really got a name for the segments or anything. It's just all going to sort of be into one. Maybe if you guys have got any sort of ideas, and leave it down below. But yeah, I'm just going to sort of go through the F1 season as the podcast sort of goes on. So obviously at the start of the season, we had Australia, Bahrain, two of the flyaway races, and two quite controversial races. Not maybe for the racing, but more the qualifying format. Obviously we had the elimination style qualifying, which I think it's fair to say is controversial. Niran, your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's just a tiny bit, isn't it? I mean, it honestly, on paper, this genuinely looked like a pretty decent idea.
Yeah.
I actually quite liked it, but it probably does beg the question, like, why did they try changing that? Qualifying is like the one thing that is actually good about Formula One, like, consistently these days, so there was no point changing it, even if it did look cool on paper, and it just didn't work. We basically had no one going out in the final 5 minutes of sessions, because the format just wasn't really allowing people to go out at the end, which obviously like completely defeats the purpose of qualifying. So yeah, it didn't really work at all. It was quite confusing as well, to be honest, and quite unfair on certain drivers at certain times.
Yeah, I can pretty much vouch for that. So yeah, following on from that, I thought I'd come up with a little segment, which is, obviously, that was a new rule introduced at the start of this season. It didn't go very successfully, but I'm going to ask these three guys, which one rule would you like to see implemented into F1, which you think would obviously improve the sport? So I'll give them a couple of minutes to think about it, and then we'll come back with their answers. I will this time. I won't put you on the spot.
I fully have one.
Okay, so I've given them a couple of minutes thinking, and basically what I'm going to be doing in these sort of segments is that I'm going to give them 30 seconds or a minute or however long it takes them to sort of introduce their idea or discussion, and then at the end I'll pick the best one, and we'll tally up the points at the end to see who I think is the best. So I haven't started with Matt for anything yet, so I'll go straight in for him. Matt, what is your idea to make F1 better?
My idea, which is probably the most unrealistic implementation ever, I'd say equal cars. Just give each car, equal engine power, equal levels of downforce, and then we would literally get to see who the actual best driver is on the grid. But then again, the problem with that is that it will put pretty much everyone out of a job.
Yeah.
Exactly. It would be absolutely awesome to see, like, each car, like in qualifying, it'll be literally probably like half a second between everyone. It'll be absolutely crazy. But, it's unrealistic, but maybe one day.
No, I like the idea. I like the idea that he's trying to put me out of a job. Obviously, I'm doing an aero engineering degree.
Unlucky.
He's trying to shorten my job prospects, which I really, really rate. But no, I get what you mean. Like the sense that F1 is meant to be this pinnacle of motorsport, and it's just not in the sense of driving. Definitely not the most pure form of racing. So yeah, I like that in a way. I like you thinking with that, but as you say, it's not really realistic. So
not so.
Yeah, but Nathan, your idea next.
Again, something that's not realistic and definitely won't happen, but scrap qualifying. Oh. That's the controversial bit. But have the grids. I mean, this is something I've done in a few videos myself.
I know what's going.
Decided as a reverse of the championship positions, because then that way you're going to guarantee overtaking. I mean, think about Belgium this year when you had Hamilton at the back, and it was interesting just to see him make his way through the field, and those are always the more interesting races when you have one quick guy at the front and one quick guy at the back, and it's just waiting to see how quickly the quick guys can move their way through the front, move to the front. If you amplified that, so all of the quick guys were at the back and all of the slow guys were at the front, it's going to be chaos. It would be mental.
That would be great. That would be good.
But it would
just
be
imagine
a
the
lot of fun.
Oh god.
Yes.
No,
it would be chaos, but certainly entertaining. I don't think there's any doubting that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I did ask what would make the racing better, so that would 100% make the racing better. I think it would be good to maybe sort of like, obviously this would never happen as well, but maybe have like the last race of the season like that. It'd be incredibly controversial, but just have like that one race a season. If the championship is decided, Charlie Whiting just comes out and says, right, we're just going to do reverse championship order for this race. I think I think that would just go down so well.
It'd be better than double points.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. So I like that idea. Very, very good. And taking inspiration from your channel as well. I like that. I like that little plug in there. So yeah, that just leaves Niran. So what's your rule?
Okay, so I won't lie, guys. That was my idea. That was what I was going to say. So I had to sort of do this on the fly. What if there was one race in a season that was slightly more like endurance based? Oh. So it was like a longer race than the usual, but you'd have like driver changes and stuff during it. Yeah. So like not like a 24-hour race. That'd be ridiculous. No one would ever get to the end. But like a 6-hour race or something that goes like transitions from like day to night, but the drivers have to change over halfway through or something. That is my idea for one of the races. And it has to be at Le Mans as well.
Yeah, that is a really good idea. That's good for thinking on your feet as well. I'll give you that. Yeah, maybe like definitely if say one team had one car each.
Yeah, something like that.
And then like obviously whoever won both got 25 points and whatever. That would be very good. Have that in like the middle of the season or whatever. Definitely. Yeah. I think that would bring a lot of big fans in. Have it like the big race of the season. That's actually quite a good idea. So I've got to say, like, all of those three ideas I definitely think would make F1 better in the sense of racing and attracting fans. Matt's I liked because obviously you get the pure form of racing. You get to see who is the pound for pound best driver. Nathan's I like in the sense that it would be absolute carnage, and that'd just make for such good overtaking. And Niran's I like because it would literally just be like the crown jewel in the whole calendar. And I think in the sense of realism and racing, I'll probably go for Niran's on that one, but pretty good effort for all three of you. And for the first question ever on a podcast that I've done, I think that's very, very good. So yeah, I'll give Niran.
Well done, guys.
I'll give Niran
well done, everyone. I'd like to thank my parents for making this possible. I honestly, if all of those ideas were implemented, how amazing would F1 be?
It would be so lit.
Genuinely, that would be incredible.
Yeah. Okay, so I've touched on the couple of flyaway races, and then obviously we came back into Europe, just about came back into Europe and into Russia, where Daniel Kvyat ploughed straight into the back of Sebastian Vettel, and as a result was sent his marching orders back to Toro Rosso, and Max Verstappen was promoted. So I believe that is the first demotion there's ever been in the history of Formula One, I'm pretty sure. possibly. But yeah, my question to you guys isn't about the demotion, which I definitely didn't just ask you about. It is if a driver from the top 3 teams or one of the front-running teams was demoted, let's say mid-season for some reason or another, which one of the current drivers would you promote into a top seat? So we'll start off with Nathan this time.
Which driver from a smaller team would I promote?
Yes, yeah.
I'd say Carlos Sainz.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think Carlos Sainz has been solid, and the entire time he was teammates with Max Verstappen, they were pretty equal. And I think the problem is Carlos Sainz. He's always been in the shadow of Max Verstappen when he's been pretty equal to him, and I can't really fault him. I mean, he's absolutely beaten Kvyat ever since they've both been at Toro Rosso. So, yeah, I'd say Carlos Sainz definitely deserves to get a top drive.
Yeah, can't really argue with that. Yeah, I think it's because obviously when they were both at Toro Rosso, Verstappen and Sainz, Verstappen was always the flashy driver, the one who pulls off the amazing overtakes. But Sainz has been solid for 2 seasons now, and he's had countless reliability problems, especially in qualifying.
Oh yeah, 2015.
Oh yeah,
that was
exactly.
The story of the season.
It was literally just engine blow after engine blow. So it'd definitely be good to see him in a reliable, quick car. And I think, although maybe he wouldn't, win races straight away, he'd be very consistent. Maybe a bit like Ricciardo was when he first went to Red Bull. Just sort of goes about his business and then bang, once he gets his confidence, goes to win a race. So. Matt, go to you next, whether you've got anyone different or whether you saw Sainz as well.
Yeah, well, I agree with Sainz. I think he does deserve a promotion, but I'd also throw Sergio Perez into the hat.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's already had his chance in McLaren, but they weren't really front runners in 2013, so that doesn't really count in my opinion. But no, Perez once again has had a very good year, beating Hülkenberg, broken that 100-point barrier as well in the Drivers' Championship. And I just think in general, I've rated him ever since he's come into the sport, and realistically, I think he does definitely deserve another shot. I think he scored 2 podiums this year, Baku, and I'm trying to think of the other race.
Monaco?
Yeah,
Monaco, that was it, yeah. God, I forgot about that one. But yeah, I know it was 2 podiums, but Perez, yeah, as always, has been very solid. But I think out with Perez and Sainz, I think both of them really deserve it. But I would personally pick Sergio Perez as I've supported him longer, mainly.
Yeah, I can't argue with that one as well, yeah. I think, obviously, when he went to McLaren as well, he'd only been in the sport 2 seasons. 2011 was...
Yeah, he was still quite inexperienced at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say, he's developed a lot since then.
He's definitely grown. He's kind of eliminated his kind of rookie mistakes from, his driving kind of. So I think that he'd be more ready for perhaps a seat at Ferrari if it does come about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like he was 23, I think, when he went to McLaren. 22, 23, so very, very inexperienced, had one good season really, that 2012 season. And I think going back to Force India has really, really helped him sort of, I guess, take a step back on the grid, take the pressure off him. And I think now he is definitely, I'd say even 2017 he'd be ready to take a big seat. It's just happened that, apart from the Mercedes one, obviously, none were really going in that silly season for him to take, so...
Yeah, I think another factor, so I read an article earlier today, I think it was on Autosport, that Sergio Perez, basically the reason for his sort of upturn in form in 2016 and also 2015 is because he kind of put the pressure off himself. He stopped trying to overachieve as much. He just sort of kept the expectations low. And then whenever he did perform well, it was a really good achievement. Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah, I agree with that. Naren, any more names to throw into the hat?
Well, I was going to say Carlos Sainz until Nathan said that, and then I was going to say Sergio Perez until Matt said that. But yeah, I mean, both of those, Carlos Sainz was always on a par with Max Verstappen. He's a driver that I support. He is the driver that I support, really, so I'd love to see him get a good seat. Sergio Perez, when he took that McLaren seat, he's developed so much since then. He'd be able to cope, I think, with a lot more with the pressures now of having a big seat. So both of those definitely deserve it. Apart from that, I mean, I don't know, maybe there are certain drivers around the grid, but I'd probably say Pascal Wehrlein would be one that I'd be interested in seeing getting a big seat. I feel as if he's overachieved so much with that manner. Yeah. Like, I think I read a piece that Josh Sutil had written that he got into Q2 6 times this season in a manner
I didn't realize it was
which is just
much.
insane. Like, that is ridiculous. So I think if he can outperform and do things like that in a manner, then it would be really exciting to see what he can do in a bigger car. Not necessarily a Mercedes, but certainly a car that can challenge for podiums on a regular basis.
Yeah, definitely. I think, maybe Wehrlein is sort of ready for that middle step now in his career. He's still pretty young, and has sort of taken quite an unusual route to F1 as well through DTM. So, he's had that rookie season where he's sort of proven himself, and now I think, like you say, it's his time to maybe not move to that Mercedes seat, which is obviously still vacant at the time of recording. God knows when this is going to go up. But,
probably after Christmas at this rate, even though we're recording 11 days before.
But, I think, he's just ready for that middle ground. Possibly if Bottas goes to Mercedes, take that Williams seat, what we were discussing earlier off camera. But all very, very good arguments. I think the one I'd agree with the most would probably be Sainz. And to be fair, I think all of them deserve a step up. I think the best argument was probably, I'd say Matt had the best argument there.
Really?
I'd say with Perez, because I thought when you first said Perez, I was like, okay, well, he's already had a big seat-ish. But then, like you say about the inexperience, quite a good argument. So I'll give Matt the point for that one. And, we'll move on to the next topic, going further into the season now and going to the main European season, which obviously starts in Spain. And the start of the Spain race, big talking point, obviously Hamilton and Rosberg coming to blows properly for the first time. I think it's the first time they've retired each other, and the last time as well. Yeah, obviously very big talking point, and surprising, I think, that they didn't sort of come to blows earlier. So my question for this one is, if two drivers were teammates, any two drivers, past or present, which two drivers do you think would have the most volatile relationship between each other and why?
Oh, jeez.
Right, give us some time.
I will definitely give time.
Yeah, go on, don't worry.
That's just about 20 minutes.
So everybody has come up with a driver pairing which they would like to see, just for the pure entertainment, just for the volatility.
Yeah, I've got all.
And right, we'll start off with Matt. He seems to.
Oh yes.
He seems to think that he's got a good one. So we'll see. Matt.
Well, I've kept with the current sort of driver grid as it is at the moment, and I'm going to go with Sebastian Vettel and Max Verstappen.
Wow.
Oh
okay.
my word.
Yeah, just after a few heated exchanges that they've had on the track and possibly off the track as well, which we haven't really heard about, but obviously they've had their moments this year. Vettel constantly complaining about Verstappen, mainly in the Mexican Grand Prix, but I just think that could go absolutely crazily. The rivalry would be probably even more fierce than, Senna and Prost. I mean, Rosberg and Hamilton was quite a fierce one, but this would be an on a whole new level. Vettel and Verstappen battling it out each race. Two relatively equal drivers as well, I'd say. Possibly Vettel being just ahead, but Verstappen will probably want to stamp his authority on Sebastian. So, yeah, I cannot see that one going well, whatever team that would be at. But if we do eventually see that lineup, please let it happen at some point.
Please let it happen at Mercedes as well. Can you imagine them trying to deal with that fiasco?
Well, they won't. Mercedes are too boring. I was going to say something a bit racist there, but I'm not going to.
German efficiency.
Well, we'll leave it to your imaginations. That's quite a good one. It's one I didn't really sort of consider, but actually it's quite an obvious one. Seeing as they had, like you say, their exchanges, I think quite contrasting figures as well, rather than...
Yeah, definitely, because Verstappen's more sort of like aggressive, and I'd say more open, but Vettel's sort of more reserved and kind of... I wouldn't say conservative, but
I
he's
get
sort
what
of
you mean. He's
slightly more
efficient,
relaxed
maybe?
and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if relaxed is the right word, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Rather than like two conflicting personalities, that is definitely sort of contrasting. But they don't seem to get along too well on the track. So yeah, that'll be interesting. Nathan, what's your pairing? You seem to take a lot of time over it. So.
Well, I was trying to see if I could think of anything more creative than this, but I couldn't. So I went with Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso.
Right. Oh, okay. That'd be good.
I was thinking that one, to be fair.
Well, because
stolen your one.
No, that wasn't the one my go-to one, but I did think about it.
Well, obviously, I'm going. Since 2010, they've been close rivals in the championship. 2010, 2012, 13, and 14. Vettel just beat Alonso in the championship in all of those seasons. And I think Vettel and Alonso, they're both... Well, I think you get two kinds of F1 drivers. You get some which are some that are happy to win one world championship, such as Button, Raikkonen, Rosberg, obviously. But Alonso and Vettel, they both are the sort of drivers where one championship, two, it's not enough for them. I remember, I think it was last year, I remember hearing an interview with Fernando Alonso, and he said he doesn't want to retire until he wins a third world championship.
Go to Mercedes then.
And obviously, and Vettel's not going to stop winning championships while he can. So, yeah, I just think that those two, they're both the sort of drivers that wouldn't give up, and they're both the sort of, and they've both conflicted on many occasions. So, yeah, I'd go with those two.
Yeah, that's a good one. 2012 and 2014 spring to mind for me. As you mentioned, 2012, obviously, I remember that famous Alonso stare at the camera.
Oh God,
that was intense. And then 2014, Silverstone as well. That was fantastic.
Right
battling on the track there, and that was a theme like throughout the season then as well. Both of them sort of a little bit off the pace. But they were still, going at each other, and yeah, I think that would be a really, really good pairing if they had equal equipment to them as well, and maybe a bit of moding as well between the two of them, which would be really, really interesting to see. And to be fair, I think any two drivers like as top, they're arguably top 10 drivers of all time, like paired together, that would be very, very good. So yeah, two very good suggestions again so far. It's a lot better than I was expecting answer wise throughout this whole sort of quiz. So Niran, you've got to follow it up now.
Okay, well, I'm inadvertently gonna go with a bit of a blend of both of them actually, because I don't know. I actually feel as if Vettel v Verstappen would be incredible, but the one that I went with was Alonso v Verstappen.
Right.
Because it's almost like Alonso would expect going into it to be number one, Verstappen's a young whippersnapper, whatever, is an experience. And I feel as if Verstappen would potentially, well, maybe not necessarily get the better of him, but certainly give him a lot more of a challenge than maybe Alonso would expect. And I feel as if they've both got very strong personalities. They're both very strong in terms of their racemanship as well. And if they're on the track together, it might cause quite a few incidents, shall we say. Yeah. I would love to see those two together. I feel as if Vettel and Kvyat would be a hilarious one as well, given the torpedoing that's been going on in China and Sochi. But my official answer is Alonso and Verstappen.
Yeah, that's good, because it brings me back to 2007, like you mentioned right at the start. Verstappen's the youngster, Alonso expects to be number one. I think maybe Alonso would probably be a little bit more prepared for this one. I think, when Hamilton walked in, he expected, okay, yeah, he's a good driver and whatnot, but I'm a two-time world champion. Whereas he sort of knows about Verstappen's capabilities. So I still think it'd be a really, really good partnership, though. And to be fair, all three of them would be incredible. But I think I'd probably have to go for Alonso and Vettel for this one. Just because they've had the rivalries in the past for quite a long period of time. And obviously they're now coming towards the twilight, or at least Alonso's career. And I think that would probably increase the volatility because, as you've mentioned, both of them want to win world titles again. So yeah, it sort of feel like at least for Alonso, the last chance he can win a world title. And if he came up against someone like Vettel, that'd be incredible. So yeah, I'll give the point to Nathan for that round. So you've all actually scored a point now. It's one each after this three.
Even.
So yeah, that was good. We've sort of covered the first quarter of the season. And going on to the middle of the season now. Not really too much. We were saying, this season has been a bit of a weird one because we didn't have too many underwhelming races, but we didn't have many overwhelming ones either. They were all decent, but not too many talking points. So the one I've gone for the middle of the season is actually a race which was awful. It was the Baku race in Azerbaijan for the European Grand Prix. So obviously there's been a lot of debate over whether it's a suitable track, where the European Grand Prix should be held. So the question I'm going to put to you all is, where would you like to see the European Grand Prix be held? It can be an existing circuit in Europe, or it could be possibly a city track which you want to see. Maybe the London Grand Prix, which was proposed. So pick anything you want, and I'll see which track I think will be the most suitable. Yeah, so we're going to have Niran starting us off for this one. So take it away. Which circuit do you want the European Grand Prix at?
Okay, it's a track that's actually held Formula One before, but mainly MotoGP as well. But I just love it as a track, and it's a shame that it's not really used as much. I don't think for sort of world racing generally, only really British sport. But Donington Park would just be like, I would personally love that back. I feel as if it's quite a thin track, isn't it? Yeah. It's not the widest tracks, but it's got decent overtaking opportunities as well. Throughout, and obviously the changeable conditions that you always get in England every single flipping season of the year, and it's just a really it's just a track that's got a lot of history as well. So I'd love to see Formula One back at Donington Park.
Yeah, that is a good one. Funnily enough, we were actually I was in a call the other day where we were talking about this, and that was exactly my suggestion. I think the track would need some, like, obviously the modifications which were proposed in 2010, I think. Or for 2010, they looked. It didn't actually alter the track too much, but yeah, I think with a bit of development and, as you say, the changeable conditions, just anywhere, in the Midlands, in England, it's just probably going to rain or be sunny, or you don't really know what you're going to get.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah,
I can definitely vouch for that.
So that's very, very good suggestion. And I'll go to Nathan next for his.
Well, I'm thinking, because we know that the German Grand Prix, it's struggling to make money. Mm-hmm. I reckon if they had the old layout of Hockenheim.
Yes.
So, scrap the Hockenheim
that'd be
ring.
Incredible.
It would be incredible. It was a classic Formula One track. Lots of fun, obviously mostly flat out, but you still had the stadium section. It's just an iconic track. It is something different. There's not really anything like it on the calendar. Well, Belgium and Monza, or Spa and Monza, I guess that's really it, because it was just, blitz through a forest, and, lots of overtaking, and trust me, if I was German, I would go to the German Grand Prix if I was at the whole Hockenheim. Yes. I'm sure everyone else would as well. So, because, it's not like the Hockenheim ring is a bad track, but I think it just pales in comparison to what it was.
Yeah, it's like the Nürburgring and the Nordschleife, isn't it? It's like there's just nothing in comparison to the old version.
It's just the poor man's Nordschleife, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
It's like the B-Tech or whatever. The memes are on Facebook or whatever. That's what they describe it as. But yeah, honestly, Hockenheim ring, old version. I remember when I got all factored, that was literally the first track I went on. I'd never driven on it before, but it's just such a good track. I think overtaking wise, it would be very good, and I think it just sort of epitomises what F1 is about. To be honest, it's like just unleash the engine. I think it'd be a good test of reliability as well, because the engines take such a pounding around there, just like flat out for pretty much the whole track apart from the stadium section. So yeah, it'd be good. Obviously unrealistic, because I believe it was like some sort of forest management scheme.
Yeah, it's overgrown now.
Yeah, so that's a bit disappointing.
Was that the reason why they had to?
Yeah, I think it was something like that. I mean, someone can probably let me know if they've somehow stayed this long. But yeah, it was something like that. Some stupid rule, and then they had to shorten the circuit. But I mean, I don't mind Hockenheim at the moment, but it's just the crowds. Not great, and I think they do need something to mix it up. But yeah, another good suggestion. And Matt with the final one. He's had one for a while.
Well, thankfully, it hasn't been taken by any of you two. Good. So thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Niran, for that. Well, I've actually got two tracks now, because I had two in mind. I had one which I sort of thought of right from the start, and I sort of had a backup just in case these two had stolen one of mine. But yeah, one I have in mind is one that's hosted F1 before, Istanbul Park in Turkey.
Oh yeah.
I think this track is very underrated. We've seen some great races around there in the past. 2010, for example, with the Red Bulls colliding and the McLarens finishing 1 and 2. Just think in general with these cars, hopefully there should be, there are a lot of overtaking opportunities, and obviously we've got the infamous Turn 8 as well. Yep. And just generally, it's a track that I've missed quite a lot, and I think F1 sort of needs these tracks. And I'm not really too sure why it was ditched. I assume it was down to financial troubles, or whether it was Bernie Ecclestone being an arsehole. But, no, it wasn't. But, yeah, Turkey's a track that I missed, and something that I think F1's been missing, a track like that with those sort of corners. I know USA have tried to replicate it with that sort of Turn 8 section. Well, it's obviously not Turn 8 on the track, but it's that kind of style. But No, I have missed that particular corner, turn 8, probably my favourite corner out of all the tracks I've probably watched F1 around, and I have sort of missed it ever since. And another track, aside from Istanbul, that I think could host the European Grand Prix. It's actually hosted the European Grand Prix before. It's another track in Germany, and it's the Nürburgring. Mm-hmm. And again, I say this because obviously we had that absolute chaos of 2007.
Yeah.
I think it was every single car going off at turn 1.
Marcus Winkel.
What a guy.
Yeah,
what a G.
Forever remember.
Yeah.
Always in our hearts.
Yeah, never forget. But no, I just think Nürburgring, I think, like Istanbul, I think it's very underrated. 2011, the battle between Hamilton, Webber and Alonso, I think's actually been forgotten about by a lot of people. But honestly, I thought that race was probably second best after Canada. And I think, honestly, it can produce good racing. I think even if in 2013, I think that was the last time we saw racing around there before, once again, unfortunately, it struck financial difficulties. But yeah, I think it definitely does have potential to produce good racing, and I actually prefer it over Hockenheim, to be quite honest with you. So basically any of those two tracks, really, Nürburgring or Istanbul, but obviously I'm going to have to only choose one, and for me, it would have to be Istanbul.
Okay, yeah. Like you say, the Istanbul Park, it was such a shame that it went. I mean, I think in 2011 it actually set the record for the most amount of overtakes in Grand Prix history. I believe. I mean, I know it was the first season of DRS and there was a lot of easy passes there. But I mean, it still produced incredible racing. And as you say, it's really suited to the modern cars. So out of the three of them, I mean, I would absolutely love the F1 to be back at Donington Park. But I think in its current state, I think it would need a lot of modification. And as you also mentioned there, it is quite a narrow circuit. Maybe
definitely
not suited to modern day F1. So as much as I'd like to see that, I don't think it would be maybe as good as the other two. Old Hockenheim ring, obviously we haven't had it with the V6 or even the V8 cars. So I'm not sure, but I'd absolutely love it there. But I do think Istanbul Park with the modern day cars would host a fantastic Grand Prix. So yeah, for that reason, and obviously the turn 8, and just I think
please
it just
let it happen one day, please.
I'd love that.
Begging
so,
you.
and by the way, Bernie, I didn't call you a dickhead. Please don't take my video down. But yeah, I'm going to give the points to Matt. I'm going to give the points to Matt for this one, for his Istanbul Park Grand Prix. So that's 2 points for him. And yeah, that's that round done. Right, so here we go then. Final question, or question, discussion points, I guess. And I'm going to start off with Nathan this time. So what's your best race? What's your worst race of the season?
Best race of the season, something slightly different, but it was still a fantastic race, the Monaco Grand Prix.
Okay.
Oh, yes, definitely. People have forgotten about that. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started off in wet conditions, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was an interesting one because it really did show, at least at that race, at that track, the difference in wet weather pace between Hamilton and Rosberg. Yeah. I think Mercedes even told Rosberg to let Hamilton through, if I remember correctly.
Did.
Yeah, and it was quite an interesting race, obviously, and then there was the whole pit stop fiasco with Daniel Ricciardo. It was quite an interesting race, to be honest. It certainly helped by the weather conditions. But yeah, definitely Monaco for best race. And then worst race of the season. I don't know if it's strictly the worst race, but I couldn't really tell you anything about it. The Italian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Because apart from the only noteworthy thing that happened, I think, from memory, was Hamilton getting off to a bad start.
Yeah, that's legit.
I
remember that. Was he on pole position, lost it to Rosberg, and that's the entire race.
I'll tell you what, that's the only thing I remember about Japan as well.
Yeah, same.
That's the only thing I remember about the Japanese Grand Prix, exactly the same thing. The only thing I remember about Italy was Pascal Wehrlein not switching his car off, even though he got to 1,000 times to switch it off. And that wasn't even the race, that was practice.
And also, I remember Ricciardo's really ballsy overtake up the inside of someone. I can't remember who.
That dive bomb, that massive dive bomb, which he somehow didn't manage to lock up on.
I think it was on Bottas, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not...
But we are racking our brains for stuff to think of. And
that's taking a lot of effort.
I literally just had to Google it just to check what the results were. So I think
I can't remember any result pretty much.
I can't.
Maybe who won.
But I think Monaco definitely very underrated one. Obviously, I remember sort of Ricciardo not getting the win. I remember Perez obviously getting the podium, as we've already discussed. But I forgot completely about what happened to Rosberg and the changeable weather conditions. So yeah, really, really, I think intriguing race for sort of Monaco is always about skill, and that really proved who had the skill in those sort of conditions. I'm not a Hamilton fanboy, don't attack me, please. But yeah, like in those conditions, it really sort of separated, I guess, the men from the boys in a sense. But yeah, very good selections once again, and we'll go to Matt for the next one.
Okay. For me, best race of the season, there are a fair few contenders. I think it's quite close up there, but for me, I would have to go Brazil.
Right.
Just simply because there wasn't much battling at the front, but if you look at what was happening down the field with Max Verstappen making his way through the field after all those pit stops, I think that overtaken on Sergio Perez. I think Sky F1 at the time were live with Christian Horner, and he was like doing a running commentary over it, which was quite funny. Yeah, but Verstappen, honestly, just incredible driving in that race. And also the overtake around the outside of, I think it was turn 3 on Nico Rosberg as well. Mm-hmm. Pretty much just showing off how good he is of a driver. And I'd be very surprised if he doesn't end up being a world champion before the end of his career. But yeah, kind of going a bit off track there. But no, Brazil also just had so much tension throughout. Obviously, Manor versus Sauber as well. Felipe Nasr getting those crucial 2 points and just about holding it in there. An incredible drive from him, to secure those 2 points. And eventually Sauber securing that. I think it's like 30 million extra they would have got by finishing 11th. Ridiculous. But yeah, it was a significant result for so many reasons. And I don't think Brazil's actually confirmed for the calendar next year. I think it's sort of subject to confirmation, so we're not actually too sure if it will be on. But no, Brazil, as always, with rain, can always produce a surprise, and I suppose that surprise was Sauber getting the points. But no, just in general, there's just a lot of tension throughout, a lot of nice overtakes from Verstappen and Ricciardo. Not much going on at the front, but I don't think you can really focus on that too much nowadays. And so Brazil, for me, was my best race of the season. For the worst, again, there's quite a few contenders. There were just a lot of average races throughout the season, but for me, one which I absolutely hated, well, didn't hate, but one that I can't really remember much of, was Canada.
Yeah.
All I can remember was Rosberg bottling it, I think. I think he spun towards the end of the race and ended up finishing.
He did.
Yeah, he ended up finishing 6th or something.
Yeah.
And I think that was the start of Hamilton's sort of winning streak during that midpoint of the season. Yeah. But no, I just can't really remember anything from that race. I don't think there was many overtakes. And to be honest, I just think Canada in general it's going to be a bit controversial, but I think it's overrated, to be honest. It only produces a good race like every 3 years. Ooh. And realistically, does it really deserve its place in the calendar? Yes, it does, but I think it needs to be producing a few more good races, to be honest. Yeah, so for me, it would be Canada for the worst race of the season. And to be honest, I think even last year as well was a pretty poor race as well. So Canada kind of almost slipping down in my standards, really. When we sort of go towards Canada now for the race, I kind of don't have my expectations up too high. I just think, it's Canada now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, best race Brazil, worst race Canada.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Canada has produced a few good races. But yeah, I think mainly it's sort of living on maybe its former glories now, like 07, 08, and then obviously 2011 as well. 2014 was quite a good race, but yeah, like since 2011 they've had one race which I can properly remember being a very good race. So
2014 with Perez and Massa crashing.
Yes, obviously. Oh, that was incredible. But yeah, apart from that, I know what you mean about Canada, but I think it still will produce good races in the future. I think it is more of a circuit suited to the modern F1 cars. But yeah, this season, just complete bummer. Real disappointment. Brazil, though, good race. Can't argue with that. Had the changeable conditions. Had Massa go out. But yeah, very emotional in the pit lane.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that as well. That was another good moment of that race. That's another reason why I put it up.
And then you've got Verstappen obviously coming through the field. And I think just the whole... It lasting like 3.5 hours, me literally just sat in my room for 4 hours on that bed, just praying that it
was worth the wait.
And
certainly.
It was definitely. It definitely had that Canada 2011 sort of feel to it. So yeah, pretty good. And then finally, last but not least, Niran.
Well, see, I was gonna say Brazil, to be honest. In terms of like a best race, I was genuinely thinking Brazil because it had that air of like kind of 2011.
Just full of instant action.
Plus, and all the accents as well. Raikkonen, the heart aching for Felipe Massa, and then him walking down with the Brazilian flag on his back, and it's raining, and all the great photos that came out of that, and the Guard of Honor and stuff. I definitely think I think, am I allowed to say it's between two? Because I genuinely can't decide.
Go on. I'll let you off.
Oh, gracias. Right, I'd say Brazil. is definitely that save as well from Max Verstappen, his comeback drive, just incredible, like all the crash and like all the incidents and everything. And also, I actually really like Silverstone as well. I know it was another race that was affected by rain, but the British Grand Prix, the first corner, which claimed about 64 victims during the Grand Prix.
I think that's underrated, that race, I think. By lots
definitely. And also Verstappen's move around the outside of Rosberg at, where was it? It was Maggots, Beckett or Chapel?
Maggots.
Right at the end. That was an insane move. I don't know if it actually earned him the position above Rosberg. I think he actually managed to keep hold of it as well. Plus Hamilton winning in front of the home crowd, the rain, the different strategies. I genuinely think that's up there with Brazil.
Yeah.
And Monaco as well. Monaco was great too.
Yeah.
I mean, what I've noticed there is that all of us have picked pretty unique races there. Like, none of us chose the likes of Spain, Austria, or Malaysia, which are pretty good contenders, really. But
I'd say Belgium's a good contender.
Yeah.
Which one?
Yeah.
Belgium.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Belgium. I think, because a lot of it's quite easy to go for those races that had one thing.
Yes, but that's why I didn't like Spain. That's why I didn't like Spain, because it only had like a couple things. Verstappen winning, Mercedes crashing, but during the race, what actually happened? Was there any overtaking? There really wasn't. Mm-hmm. So
the thing about that race, and I remember saying this at the time, if it had been at any other track that wasn't Spain, it would have been a classic. But because Spain is such a dull track generally, because I think there was a situation where we had like Verstappen, Raikkonen, Vettel and Ricciardo were covered by like 5 seconds, the top 4, like 20 laps into the race. Yeah. They were so close, but because it's such a dead track in terms of overtaking,
there was no chance it was ever.
There was no action whatsoever, and it was the perfect opportunity because both the Mercedes had been wiped out, but the track didn't really allow for actual action.
Yeah,
so is a shame.
Worst race of the season, Niran?
I would probably. We've just said that we're not being stereotypical, but I'm gonna be stereotypical with this one. Baku was absolutely cataclysmic. Canada was terrible as well. I will say that Canada was shocking. But I'm going to go for Baku. Not the greatest debut. Yeah. Although the GP2 races were great, but the Formula 1 race was awful.
Yeah, I don't think it really needs much explanation.
Listen, I'm going to put this prediction out there now.
Yep.
Perhaps an unpopular prediction, but Baku will be one of the top 3 best races of next season. Heard it here first.
Okay.
I can see that. I feel as if it's a track that should offer a good race. Yeah.
Definitely has potential. And if Maldonado returns, then it's actually looking quite likely, by the way.
Yeah,
I just feel
he'll be in the South.
I just feel that sort of castle section is definitely, it's obviously been made for the just completely aesthetical purposes, but in the lower formula, it sort of produces absolute carnage, or has the potential to. And then when you get to F1, it's sort of, people aren't that stupid, I don't think. To sort of
occasionally,
occasionally we do get it. So maybe next season,
Julian Palmer.
But again, solid couple of choices there. So Nathan, which 2 did you pick again? I didn't.
Monaco and Italy.
That was it. Yeah. So Monaco, a race which I'd completely forgotten, was actually pretty good. Then we had Matt's 2 choices, which were
Brazil and Canada.
Yep. And then we've just heard Niran's as well. So personally, I think Brazil was the best race of the season. But I think Italy was the worst race of the season. So, or Baku. I didn't actually watch Baku because I came back from work and got told that it was horrifically bad, so didn't even bother watching it. So yeah, I can see sort of some perspectives from each one. I'm going to go for Nathan's choices, I think. Ooh. So, yeah, Monaco, very good race, very technical race as well. So quite a good choice in that sense. And then obviously Italy, nothing happened. So pretty easy choice in that sense. But so Nathan's on 2 points, Matt's on 2. Niran quite unlucky to be sat on 1 point. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
There's no winners here today, but there is a loser, and this is me.
I couldn't have put it better myself. So, So yeah, I think we're going to leave it there for the moment. As I said, I'm going to try and get another one up before New Year as well, because I really enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys did too. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this sort of podcasting style. And as I said at the start, it's something which I'm looking to do a bit more in the future. So I'm sure I'll get these guys on in the future as well. I'll leave all of their channel links down in the description, of course. So do go and check them out. They're all smashing it at the moment, and I'm sure Matt will be back doing that soon as well.
Soon.
But yeah, make sure to go and check them out. Niran, obviously, absolutely smashing it with FIFA at the moment. And also, obviously, his F1 career mode. Nathan, as well, doing a lot of good stuff. He's just hit 2K, actually, today, which is really, really good for him. So congrats. And I'm sure he'll go a lot further. And then Matt, hopefully, will be back making content soon. So do go and subscribe to him.
2017 will be the big year.
It is. There we go. You heard it here first. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in my next video. And hope you enjoyed it. Take care. Bye-bye.